Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to video number 3 in a series of 5 on corporate research, where we look specifically at corporate 10K reports and annual reports. In this particular video, we're going to focus on the UPS 10K report. We're just going to go into their 10K report and pick out a few things to look at, few interesting things that I found while preparing this video. Okay, so as usual, if you've watched my last 2 videos, you know that you're going to go to the UPS investor relations page. Okay, and there it is. Boom, already in purple because I've been there. All right, and here's the website, right? And already they're throwing lots of numbers at you, documents at you, dates, stock information down here, upcoming events, some financial news, information from the proxy statement, which we'll talk about in another video. You can sign up for investor alerts. You can look at information on revenues right here, these two little circles. Then all the way at the bottom, you get some basic information, UPS at a glance, right? You have UPS apparently has 534,000 employees. It's represented somehow in over 220 countries and territories. Handles 25.2 million packages per day, and had total revenues of $97.3 billion for 2021. Now, that number, if you ever hear, for instance, UPS is a $97 billion corporation, that's the number that they're talking about. Anytime the media is talking about a corporation being, 97 billion, 100 billion, $200 billion corporation, they're talking about this figure right here, the total revenues of the corporation, okay? So just note to self, that's a handy number to know. Here, we have fact sheets we can link to. And the source of all this information, as you can see, is the 2021 10K. So let's get right down to it. I've been to this website a few times, so I know my way around. I know I just have to hover over investors, and that brings up the SEC filings, okay? I did have to search for that just a little bit the first time around, so save us a little time on the video. Here's the SEC documents page. We're looking for annual reports, SEC filings. And here we get a list of different documents we can choose from. All of these are documents that the corporation submits with the Securities and Exchange Commission. But we know what we want. We want the 10K report for the year 2022. So let's go ahead and filter this by year. We want 2022. And the type of filing, in other words, the type of document that was filed is a 10K. So we want the 10K, and there it is, right? I like to look at it in a PDF form. Please note that it's 145 pages long. Again, this is not a book we're opening. So I like to look at it in PDF form. And there it is, the 10K for UPS. All right, now let's plug in a couple of the words that I had suggested from the very first video. I kind of had this one screen with with a bunch of different words that I thought would be useful for finding information to create agitational propaganda and for considering different workplace tactics. That was the purpose of those keywords. If you haven't watched the first video, I recommend you do so. That's where I got this keyword, collective. So let's do a Control F, and it was already in there, so it already started finding stuff because I've done this video like 5 times. So it was already in there, and there's a first instance of collective, but that's not what I want to show y'all. I want to show you something very specific. In the process, you can see that there's 44 matches for the word collective. So I'm going to go ahead and put us in high gear here because I know where this one is, all right? So we're moving through all the instances of collective here. And the reason I chose that word, for those of you who may not be familiar with some of the labor stuff, a collective bargaining agreement is another word for a union contract. All right, so that's why I chose the word collective, like seeing if there was any reference to union contracts in here, and obviously there are several, including this one piece that I wanted to show you very specifically because this has a bunch of very useful information or information that should be considered. Okay, so for instance, as of December 31st, 2021, we had approximately 327,000 employees under a national master agreement and various supplemental agreements with the local unions affiliated with the Teamsters. These agreements run through July 31st, 2023. That's next year. We have approximately 3,200 pilots who are employed under a collective bargaining agreement with the Independent Pilots Association. This collective bargaining agreement becomes amendable September 1st, 2023. That's just 1 month after the Teamsters contract expires. I don't know exactly what they mean by amendable, but I am definitely taking note of it, and that would be something that I would look further into. Let's keep reading a little further, though. We have approximately 1,700 airline mechanics who are covered by a collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters Local 2727, which becomes amendable November 1st, my birthday, 2023. All right, now these dates aren't very far apart from each other. All right, so as a researcher, I'm definitely going to take note of the July 31st, 2023 expiration date for the Teamsters, because that's the date that they could potentially go on strike. And I'm definitely going to take note of September 1st and November 1st as dates when the contracts of the pilots and the mechanics become amendable, and look into what it means to have a contract become amendable, because offhand, I actually don't know. I don't know if this opens up the door for a potential strike or workplace action. I don't know what happens when a contract becomes amendable, but you see where I'm going with this, right? Like if you could align all three actions, July 31st, September 1st, November 1st, if you could align those contracts and have a strike across the, on the ground employees, the pilots and the mechanics, oh Lord, no, that's some serious power. I mean, UPS is one of the arteries of this nation. It keeps distribution happening. It keeps the postal system happening. So that is something to look out for. That's the type of information that we're looking at. Okay, now let's keep on moving. Let's keep on finding more stuff. All right. So here, let's go back over here. Let's do another Control F, and this time let's do represented. Okay, and there more interesting information. Only 7 matches this time. That's okay. Again, I'm not looking to read this as a book. All right, so this time around, represented, more than 70% of our U.S. employees are represented by unions, primarily those employees handling our transporting packages. In addition, approximately 3,100 of our pilots are represented by the Independent Pilots Association. Okay, interesting. We already knew that. And just so y'all know, this is in the very beginning pages of the document, okay? So this is in the business section of this document, starting on page 1. Excuse me. And I always recommend people read either the first 5 or 10 pages of the 10K. So just because it gives you some good, basic information on the company, and it sometimes lets you see the company with a fresh set of eyes. So we found that so far. Let's keep on looking for more instances of represented. Okay, here we go. Here's a second instance of represented. And this one says, for the years ended December 31st, 2021, 2020, and 2019, Amazon.com and its affiliates represented 11.7, 13.3, and 11.6 of our consolidated targets, respectively. Now, I'm going to take note of that because this is a relationship between Amazon and UPS. I don't know what that number represents exactly. Obviously, it represents 11.7, 13.3, 11.6 of the consolidated revenues for those 3 years, but I don't know what it represents as far as other companies. So how that, sizes up when compared to Target, how that sizes up when compared to, I don't know, any other corporation that UPS, gets a good deal of sales from. But nevertheless, 11.7, that seems like a, sizable chunk. That's more than a tenth. So I am going to take mental note that they represent that much. Okay, so those are some instances where the word represented came up. Now let's go back up. Let's go all the way back to the top, back to the table of contents. And this time around, let's go ahead and check out item 2, which is properties. And as you can see, it also contains information on facilities and fleets, something that I had mentioned in video number 1. So let's go ahead and click on that. Here's some information on the operating facilities that they lease and own. Okay, so here we go. Their headquarters is in Atlanta, Georgia. Their primary information technology operations are consolidated in an owned factory in New Jersey. They own or lease 1,000 package operating facilities in the U.S. with approximately 85 million square feet of floor space. They own or lease approximately 800 facilities that support international package operations with approximately 23 million square feet. Okay, interesting stuff. They own or lease 500 facilities with approximately 41 million square feet of floor space. which support our freight forwarding and logistics operations. Okay, this is all interesting stuff. Also down here, the fleets, the aircraft, the vehicles. Okay, so here we have their aircrafts totaled out. The ones they own and finance, they have a total of 288 aircrafts. In other words, 757s, 767s, 747s, which if you're a retired ramp agent like me, you know the jargon. No, you don't. I actually never learned the names of all the planes. That was a joke. Anyway, there you have all the aircrafts totaled out, how many they lease and own. And if you go a little further, they do the same for the vehicles. We operate a global ground fleet of approximately 121,000 package cars, vans, tractors, and motorcycles, which is a surprise to me, okay, including more than 13,000 alternative fuel and advanced vehicle technologies, okay? Now, I'm looking at this and I appreciate this stuff because this is the tangible stuff, all right? Here's the information on the facilities. All right, tells us how many facilities they have. Next step may be to actually identify each one of those facilities. But nevertheless, here's some information on facilities, a tangible thing. Here's some information on fleets, a tangible thing. Here's some information on aircrafts, vehicles, all tangible things. The cars, the trucks, tangible. The Boeing 757, the Boeing 67, 47, these are all tangible things that workers need to operate. Workers need to drive these package cars. Workers need to fly these aircrafts. Workers need to show up and work the line on these facilities. So this is why I think it's important to look at these things so we can start connecting some dots in UPS's process of production. Okay, so now we know how many facilities they have. If the next task is to look up where those facilities are located, well, that starts to give us insight into what facilities we should contact and organize with and coordinate worker actions and worker stoppages with, okay? And listen, I'm sure, UPS, or rather the Teamsters, are already getting their game down, but I'm just saying, in the grander theoretical, if you're not a Teamster looking at this specifically and you're just looking to learn about this stuff, all right? So that's why we look at the tangible stuff like vehicles and aircrafts and fleets and facilities, is so we can start to get an idea as to where workers are located, what kind of jobs they do, are they critical, can we organize, can we reach out, all that stuff. We get their contact information and start doing our organizing. So that's the final part of this, was to show the tangibles, the stuff that has to be operated by workers and that shows potential for organizing. That's why I like to look at this information. Thank you for watching this video. The next video is going to focus on Starbucks Corporation.